by Mane. Great to have her back today, as we did not have her in the lineup last weekend. First scrum of the game. Set pieces are going to be huge. Let's see how it goes.
And the ball is placed and comes out the back. Now Brown recycles.
Good line speed by West Point. Brown coming back right. Turnover. Grace McCune playing out right to Mane. Big carry, shoulders through. DeLeon to Allis. Massive carry, 3 or 4 tacklers to bring her down. Out to back to Morales. Unfortunate knock on. Brown playing with it. Second knock going to come back to the original.
So the knock on plays, and we'll come back for the original knock. Apologies to those at home. Looks like we're having a little bit of a connectivity issue, but it seems to be up and running. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that and get back on track here. But we're going to try to keep you up to date as we go. We are recording, so if need be, we can come back. So looks to me like it is coming through. We're at a scrum down with Brown with the ball in hand. And so this is the 9, Alouche, who plays the ball in. And referee says that's a penalty because you brought it down. So Army decides to quick tap. Eisenhart a little bit isolated, looking for some space. Now finds DeLeon on the loop, and now they've got some space on the outside. This is Winker, who is able to make the offload to Steen. A little bit of a bobble, but handled and set back. DeLeon tries to play fast, and this is Kearney. Now Eisenhart out to Fiatoa, who drives on and gains a few more. Regathers and sets the ball. DeLeon again, another big counter ruck. So Brown, we're seeing a couple of counter rucks. Yeah, released. That was Maroney released and then gathered the scrum half. Questionable there, whether that's still within the law. I do believe the player in the scrum can no longer detach and hit the scrum half. We'll see what Matt Lake decides. The arm is out, so they're playing an advantage, and now it's out to Ringdahl, who finds Cassidy Ball, who drives on for a couple more. They're now about 7 meters out. Ball trying to find ground, is able to do so. The ruck is formed, and DeLeon decides to test the A gap. Gets a few. Over the line, but not. Yes, and now the try is awarded. The arm is up, which is going to put the first points on the board for Army. And so an exciting flurry there. A couple of mishandles, but the first try is dotted down with about 5 minutes gone.
DeLeon, not the scrum half last week against Harvard, comes back into the scrum half position today, playing some really, really quick ball, which I think helped during that attack right there.
Yeah, definitely a different style between the two scrum halves that Army has, which really gives them different options. And I think that's something that Coach Jen really likes, having both options, somebody who sort of plays a real quick attacking style and the other who plays maybe a bit more of a measured game. It'll be Eisenhart on the tee. Strike is up. It looks online if it reaches, and the flags do not go up, which suggests that it must have been about a meter short there. So it'll stay. Scoreboard says 7. I did not see the referee flags go up. So yes, it was no good. So 5-0. It dropped a bit short. And so Army will get the ball back on the opening kickoff. I think Eisenhart will probably have a little frustration there on that one, just a little short on the post. This is Julia Murray with the ball in hand. And Brown will try to get back to work. It's a nice kick, plenty of time. It's fielded by Gabby Winker, who regathers and sends it out. De Leon, this is Ricklick. Seal is on. Eisenhart calling for it, looking to connect. This is Natalia Johnson. Big, strong runner, drives on and gains a few more. So Brown is showing a pretty aggressive counter-rucking. They're trying to really ruck. Morales breaks the line. Now has one to beat. Nice little step to the outside. Is looking for support in Steen. Steen there. Now Army on the attack. De Leon quick recycle to Johnson. To Carney, who drives on and gains a few. Now the numbers on the outside. We should be seeing that ball come out. If you're the winger, Alyssa Davis, you're hoping for it. Alice decides to take it herself, gains a few. Now the push is on. A little bit of a pick and go. De Leon now brings it out. Drops it out to Morales, to Ball, who takes it herself and now appears to have it grounded. Question mark by the referee. Referee says, no, you did not. They are able to get their hands under. So good job there by Lily Nowak, the 14, who's able to get arms under Cassidy Ball and prevent the try.
I truly don't mind her backing herself there. I thought she had that gap. Really well played by Brown to hold that up.
So the restart will happen. For those at home, this is a goal line dropout. Must travel 5 meters in the air. It does and then some. And looks like Johnson is going to bring it back into the space and now is inside the 22. Now to Carney. Alice drives on with the latch. Carney's on her feet, going to try to find ground. Look to have done so. Referee now says release. Out to Eisenhart, who gives it to the short pass. This is Ball again. Now out to Winker, who looks for Eisenhart on the loop. Fiatoa. Again, just doing what Mane does, just grinding out meters. Now out to Kate Winker. Shoots the gap and gains a few. Alice seals it up. Morales out to Ricklick, who sees a little space, a big fend off, and is able to gain a few more. I think that's what you typically want to see from your props, going in courageously and getting that fend if it's available. Now De Leon decides to go to the short side. Cassidy Ball calling for it. Steen on the outside, but Ball's going to try to do it within a couple of meters. De Leon looks downhill and finds Steen in the corner for another 5. So welcome back, Emily Steen. First game after an extended rehab is able to find the try zone and put 5 on the board. Eisenhart will have a kick from way downtown, out beyond the 5-meter line. So this will be a strike to get anywhere near the posts, but we'll see what can happen there. But not before 10 points are on the board for Army. And I think one thing that stands out to me right now is Army does appear to be playing a very fast speed of play.
Absolutely, Mike, and throwing tons of options at that line. And then I think that forward ball is pretty wide, kind of attacking that gap between the forwards and the backs. And I think they're getting those shoulders through, and then that allows for that quick ball to be played by De Leon.
Solid strike, but not able to find it. And so the score will remain at 10.
As we wait for this next restart, just a little bit of history here. So the historic matchup between Army and Brown. Army 10 wins, Brown 4 wins. We are 3-0 at home at Anderson Rugby Complex. So never lost to the Brown Bears at Anderson Rugby Complex, but have lost 2 straight last September in Providence.
Yeah, there's a bit of a history there recently in sevens where Brown has gotten a couple of national championships. Eisenhart decides to send it back and find some green space. That's a nice gap, and now there's some pressure on. Winker going to try to make something happen. There's the pressure. Now it swings to the far side of the field where they've met Cassidy Ball, who reads it and decides to take it under the posts. This one should be a bit easier for Army and the kicker. So there we go. That was some quality work there by Cassidy Ball, who read that one out of the air and just took it. So as I was saying, there's some history here between the programs, especially in sevens in the last couple of years, where they've met in the CRC final, which in one side of the rugby world is the national final. Brown taking both of the finals, and I know that actually three, to be corrected, three, which I know is something that the folks from West Point here would like to change. So this is the start I think they hoped for, and Eisenhart will line up in front of the sticks. That one looked clean, and the flags are up, which adds 2 and brings it to 17.
Curious to see what Brown tries to do on this restart. So went short off the first one. We recovered it. Tack went well. Went deep on that last one. Eisenhart, nice kick to green grass that allowed that big chase and that steal by Ball. We'll see what they try to do here to try to turn the tides a little bit.
Yeah, it's something that I'm happy to see. You don't see it as much in the women's game, the kick off, after the restart, the kick return. And something that you'd kind of like to see maybe a little more frequently because you often can get that advantage. This is Morales now bringing it out into the width. That could have been Ringdahl, who it is, and now rucks over. But looks like the whistle is blown and possibly lost in the handle there. No, appears to have been in touch, and so we'll see the line out. And looks like that'll be Maroney with ball in hand. This game has already come to a fast start, but this is the first lineout of the day, so we'll see what it looks like. A lot of movement in the lineout. It's a nice throw and a nice catch. And so now the ball comes out. That one is mishandled, unfortunately, for the number 8, Baptiste. And so Army will get the ball back in a scrum.
First attacking scrum for the Black Knights. Center field, a lot of options here. Interested to see which way Eisenhart decides to take it.
So McCune, not quite in a stacked position, but certainly giving other options there behind the scrum. And so Brown with a big drive, but Army meets it, stabilizes. And now Ball picks. Looked to be a bit high over the shoulder, but came off it quick. And so Matt Lake says, we'll let it play. There's the counter ruck again. So that late counter ruck seems to be a feature of the Brown defense. And now the ball is out. This is Johnson, who sheds one and then takes on the next. Brown a little trapped underneath. Referee says, yep, you were trying. We'll let it play. Out to Carney. Out to Kate Winker, who looks on the ground to Morales, a nice offload, who finds Winker. Now, this could be dangerous. Winker does this well, and it looks like the over-the-shoulder tackle, but in the try zone, and is working to find ground. Referee says held up. That is unfortunate, so good job there by Julia Murray to get her hands in. One thing I will say is that Brown is has been well coached on making sure that they are getting there, and until that whistle is blown, you fight to get those hands under. So good job by them. So once again, we'll start with the goal line dropout, the 5-meter ball in the air. And it does so. Looks like Ricklick, who's going to field. And now finds Ringdahl, who looks back inside. Little give and go there. And now Brown tries to find the touchline, and they do. And so we'll have a second line out, which looked pretty effective the first time. So I would expect they're going to feel comfortable here, controlling it and trying to get the exit. Army, of course, will try to get up and get a hand on this and maybe win one, because this is a fantastic position on the field to attack. So we'll see. Looks like Army has 2 deep for the kick, both Steen and McCune. Ball is up. Looks like it was batted back. Now it's a little choppy. This is trouble. That's Cirillo with ball in hand, who's able to find the ground. And now Brown on their line is going to have to try to find some position and exit. Does so. Good job by Baptiste to regather. And De Leon out there working hard, trying to find touch. And now touch is found. So the arm is up. This time Army will get the line out, and back to work they'll go.
So interesting enough, you jump on a team 17-0 first 20 minutes or so. As I talked about earlier, one of Coach Jen's priorities today, converting in the deep green zone. We're really only 2 of 5 today with those 2 held up, and then we got dragged to touch a moment ago. So looking really good on the scoreboard, but statistically.
Ball is formed. Ball comes in. It's clean. Ball is formed. This is Fiatoa, who looks for De Leon. A little bit isolated, but able to get in on her own and put it down. So De Leon on the board. And that will add another 5 to Army's total, bringing it up to 22. So Eisenhart will kick from closer than one of the others, but still not close. So inside the 15-meter. Should be in range. Still needs to get a good strike. Is up. Looks to be pushed in front of the posts. And so it will remain 22.
So on the previous restart, Brown went left after their 2 or 3 previous ones where they went right and then deep right. Be interested to see their strategy for this one. Not a ton of rugby being played on the south side of Anderson Rugby Complex today so far.
Yeah, been all Army so far. Ball tapped and finds touch. So that one works out well for the Bruins, who are now going to be in a real good position to try to get this line out. Let's just double check it. And no, it was not touched. So just to be clear, it was not touched before it went out. And that means that Army will retain, but not before being put into a very, very deep position. Ball is up. It's fielded by Carney. Free says that's not straight, and so it's going to have to come back, and Brown will have the decision. Brown chooses line out. And so this is a good attacking position for Brown, maybe the first of the day. And you would expect maybe to see the ball, although we'll see what kind of walk-up we've got here. A little bit of a fake, look to go to the back jumper. It's over, it's bobbled. That appeared to be knocked. The referee says no, it was not knocked, and so we're going to continue to play. Shoulders are down, they're about 2 meters away. Now the ball comes out. Big hit. That was Fiatoa on Baptiste, drives it back toward the pile. This is Cassidy Ball and Natalia Johnson on the double tackle. Now Army doing some work, but bounces off, keeps the leg drive going. That's Larissa Barbosa, so good effort there after contact. Ball comes out to the right this time. This is Maroney who gets driven back. Army now starting to march up, looking to feel a little bit more confident in this space. May have won the ball. It appears they did. Really good work. Eisenhart puts one up and over. Someone gets a hand on it, and now Murray takes it back into the space. Looking for the width. That one thrown over the top. Referee says we're still okay, but it was knocked forward in the final pass. Army was calling for the forward pass with that little over-the-top flick by McGettigan, but referee said it was lateral. That final one, not able to be handled.
Some big West Point shots there in defense. I definitely think that helped getting Brown off balance within their attack. Didn't exactly see the turnover there, but we relieved some pressure. Looks like referee Matt Lake, we're doing water breaks today, so 20 minutes. We'll get water on for both sides.
So we're going to go ahead and pause the clock there and let the water come out. Good time for those at home. We'll give you a little bit of an update here. We know there's a bit of a bit rate issue here on the stream. So if you're getting a little bit of a choppy feed, unfortunately the internet is not working well with us today. But we are working hard to get it dialed in for you, and so just stay with us and we'll do our very best. So my quick take on it so far, Army on the front foot, and when they're looking very strong. Been a little bit out of position. That kick unfortunately hit ground, and that's the error, right? That's the moment where we say, hey, we really just can't have it. Got to be pulled out of the air, because that pushes you into that deep position. Forces you to defend, I think, maybe a little bit more aggressively than you're used to, or certainly energy expenditure. But they're able to clear and get it out of the zone, but not before, Brown looking far more damaging, potentially damaging. So higher stress maybe than you'd like, all resulting from that kick.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Mike. And maybe a couple phases before we look to put that to boot, because, I mean, I think that Brown attack line looked pretty good. Maybe just some catch pass that didn't go their way that forced that knock on, which was fortunate enough for Army. But I do like seeing them trying to turn field position via the kick. I think that's a great thing to have in our arsenal.
So as the water break continues, looks like referee has brought us back and players are going to be coming back to the field. Just again, for the viewer at home, that is a World Rugby, I don't know if I'd call it a law or an initiative, but when the temperature reaches, I think, 85 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, maybe even lower, maybe 80, there's a water break typically at the quarters. And so always a good thing to do, keep the athletes hydrated and feeling okay out there, especially on a day where there's potentially some heat. So we'll go back to the scrum. Referee says time can start back up. And Army will have the ball.
Outside the 22, I foresee West Point trying to play this and seeing what they can do in their attack. The attack's been really dangerous, especially as we've gotten the ball out to Yesenia in that inside center position.
And here it is. Good take. Looked to be a bit high. Now the ball comes out. DeLeon working, finding a little space, little running room, and able to get it into the ground. And so McCune will spring it out, and Eisenhart finds some space, looks to drop one in. Ball bounces, some big pressure, and there's Ricklick able to regather. And now Army comes back to work. This is Ollis. Finds a gap. DeLeon again. Cassidy ball, looks to Winker. Referee says we're going to stop. We have a player down on the field, and so we're going to let the trainers come out and take a look.
Fortunate bounce off that kick by Eisenhart right into the West Point hands. A solid carry, and it seemed like there was just a bit of bumping on that far side that caused the Brown player to be down.
All right, so looks to be the far winger, Abby Cirillo, down and getting some attention from the trainer. So Abby, a local player and one of ours who we coached growing up, and certainly don't want to see her down, and hopefully she's okay. Wishing the best to her, and with any luck, she'll be right back on her feet.
Surely hope she's all right, Mike. Interesting, though. I'm interested in your perspective here. So that attack was going far away from that far sideline right there. Referee Matt Lake decided to blow it up, signifying because it was a head injury. And I assume now it will be scrum West Point Center, which is a good attacking platform. But haven't seen that stoppage for injury.
It's an interesting one, right? I mean, like generally speaking, we see that when a player is down in rugby, and the game is away from that player, a safe distance, the player's not at risk, that the game would continue. And so I think that's certainly a question. We might say, well, why? Why did we stop that? But of course, anything that puts a player at safety risk, certainly a judgment call. And looks like Matt decided to play it conservative. Never argue with that. So the scrum will be here at the center, just past the 50. It will be Army's ball, and they look to be stacked to the right with, again, Eisenhart and McCune stacked up behind the scrum. So a couple of options. McCune starts to fade to the strong side. Cassidy ball picks it up to DeLeon, out to Morales, who's able to bring it in. A little bit of a high pass, but does a good job to pull it in. DeLeon recycles to Eisenhart. Now to Steen in the width. Gains a couple. Sets it back. DeLeon back the other way. This is Johnson. Solid hit there by Baptiste, but Johnson able to retain. Now the ball out to Winker. To Ricklick, out the back to Morales, who's been doing the work of catching today, doing a lot of work catching. This is Alyssa Davis, who gains one, and now ball's available. DeLeon brings it back out. This is Carney. On the double tackle, it's Alice Sealing. Now DeLeon. Winker. Out to Johnson. Good solid hit again by the 8. That's Olivia Baptiste. Now the ball out. Fiatoa looks, throws one over the top to Steen, who cuts back in and tries to redirect. Now, Army looking to be playing a little bit of sevens here. They're moving it back and forth, looking for that gap. Yavaseni Morales may have it. Had Ringdahl on the outside. Now finds Ringdahl, who swings it to Davis. It's just a sprint to the corner, and this time Davis able to dot it down and get things again back on the board, bringing us to 27.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. I don't know if that's the attack pattern that Coach Jen's looking for, but worked out in our favor. Some couple flat passes, got some shoulders through, some solid offloads, and then Davis essentially walks into the try zone with a solid try.
So I do know one thing that that Coach Jen had been talking a little bit about with the team this week was really trying to attack the outside channels a little bit, and that's something that we've seen so far. So good work there by Alyssa Davis to get the ball in, and now Alyssa Eisenhart will go ahead and give it a shot from the left side of the stick. Kick is up. That looks to be online. Again, dropping a little short. So some frustration there on the face of Eisenhart, who is online on most of those, but just not able to get enough leg on it. So question mark there. We'll go back and have a conversation about breakfast, maybe. So the score remains 27 to Brown 0, and on the field clock, we've got 13 left. So that does not coincide with our clock, but we'll see where we shake out here. Ball is up. This time, Ricklick is able to pull it in. Nice little footwork there. Gains one. Baptiste keeps a hand on. Good job there. Now Eisenhart brings it up. Here's the kick. Over the head of the 9. That's Alouche, who now brings it to Murray, who tries to send it back. Winker fields. And Brown does a nice job of stopping because they're offsides, but that gives Winker a little space to run and does so. This time bobbled, and that's going to be a knock-on. So interesting there for those at home who may not know the rule. on a kick, when your player kicks, if you are standing ahead of the kicker, in front of the kicker, you must be put on sides. Now, the law typically is you have to retreat, although referees do give a little leeway if you sort of stand still and you're away from the play. And so it appeared that the Brown players were standing still. Winker sort of found her way through the still players. They can't move until they're put on side by a player who is behind the kicker or the kicker themselves.
Exactly, Mike. And they have to work back, so you can't even just stand still now.
Yeah, which has been enforced at I guess a bit of a more aggressive way lately. And so we'll see if they pick up on that here. Little show and go there by Barbosa, who regathers and now is met by Morales, who gets a really solid positive tackle. The box kick is up. McCune in great position for the field, and now brings it back. And you can see how, again, the black player's waiting for her to pass or someone else to pass them. Fiatoa is met, again, by Baptiste, who's really doing the work for the defense of Brown. Cassidy Ball drives on, takes the double tackle, and gains a few. Now the ball out. Eisenhart between players, but Winker able to pick it up, finds a gap, and is looking for the numbers outside. She finds her sister Kate, who gains a few more, sends it back to Ricklick. The continuity looks good here by Army, who's really making the offloads work. Alice pick and go. Is able to find the ground. DeLeon picks it up. Referee says the ball was out, so that's playable. DeLeon says, okay, I'll take the gap then. Gains a few more. Now things settle. Steen, acting as the 9, brings it out to Kate Winker, who, with the late flat pass, brings it across the front of the shape. Carney able to take it. Now the drive over and seal. Ball out again. Winker out the back to Morales. This has been dangerous so far. McCune looking to Ball. Ball breaks one and looks to be able to walk in and get toward the posts and dot it down for her second of the day. Making no mistake about that one. Got held up once. That time, wanted to make sure everybody knew it was touchdown. 32 on the scoreboard for Army with about 10 and change to play on the field clock. A little bit more on our game clock. So I know all week Army's been talking about really trying to stay aggressive. They took from that Harvard game, and this would probably be a good time to tell the folks at home. We fired our sound engineer at Harvard and then rehired him after some training, and we've now got things a bit more dialed in. But you missed a great game if you were watching. Apologies to all of you at home. Eisenhart strikes. That one finds no problem getting through, and then some, which brings the score to 34. Looks a bit happier about that one. And I'm certain we'll give a hat tip to Cassidy Ball for putting that one on the post. Every kicker's dream come true. Murray comes out and will get us started again. We've got 34-0.
West Point Black Knights are doing very few things wrong today, but I think Stevie Ray Ricklick is having quite the game. We probably don't give the enough attention and love to that pack, but I think she's just playing a fantastic game this first 30 minutes.
That's a tough kick, but it's brought backwards, so that's okay. So that one sort of a knuckleball that found its way to the turf. Ringdahl, really athletic move to handle it. Steen shows off the left foot, and now Army with some pressure. That ball finds Green, which is always a little risky. Steen attempted the charge down. It's a nice send back by McGettigan, pulled in by McCune, who sheds one almost. And now Army will get back to work. Referee has the arm up, says penalty. You were not releasing. So Brown able to get their hands on the ball, and at least one set of arms pointing to the corner saying, let's go ahead and put this thing in the corner and go for that line out. Yeah, it's a good point about Stevie Ray Ricklick. Really, in the traditional sense of the game, the historical sense of the game, you don't think of your props as your best movers. You know, usually sort of straight ahead, power runner, run you over kind of a player. Stevie Ray has very, very good feet. And if you watch her play, she has great lateral movement and certainly something that probably doesn't get enough credit. So couldn't agree more. Well worth the shout out. This will be Maroney with the ball in hand for Brown, who will look to send up the line out. They've been effective in the line out so far, and so that makes sense. Go ahead and kick it to the corner and see if they can get something going. Gets over to the second jumper. The ball is formed, and the referee calls it out, which says we're okay. Now it's out. This is Maroney, who's met with some resistance. Finds ground very near the touchline, but not out. This is Baptiste. About 8 to 10 meters out. Army working hard to find that resistance. There's that drive. Hands are on the ball, but referee says the tackle is made, so go ahead and release. Out the other side, again, met with some firm resistance. Army doing a good job of creating pressure here and marching Brown back. Now the ball out, it's stolen. Cassidy Ball shows off her foot with a high ball. It is handled by Murray, well done, and now brought across the field. That looked a bit forward from the booth, but referee says play on. And now we're coming out to the right side. Things are choppy, a little mishandled on the ground. Referee says it was in fact knocked, but first by Black, so it will stay with Brown. So a good flurry of events there. And one thing that I think feature so far is that we've seen Steen kick, we've seen Cassidy Ball kick, we've seen Eisenhart kick. There was a critical point last week where that was sort of a piece of the game that mattered, and I think that looks like something they've dialed in a bit better.
Yeah. And some good bend don't break defense on a couple of occasions that we really can't even see from up here what's going on in those rucks. But we just see West Point with that turnover, and it's super, super good to see, but not exactly sure what's going on.
Yeah, it's a part of the game that is so critical because most teams now, even at the very highest level, international level, are really trying to move that ball in those short pick and go situations and drive it forward. So you have to be able to defend out. Army brings the ball back and gets it through the hands. McCune is able to find some space, finds Steen on the outside. Now back into Morales, who has done really great work all day at breaking the line and then offloading. This is Carney, Tafia Toa, who slips through, continues to drive, so strong, just drives on, is finally ridden to the deck. Eisenhart to Ricklick, off to Cassidy Ball, who does the final offload to Kate Winker, who finds the try zone and gets on the board for her first, bringing the score to 39. So real good ball movement there and some unselfish play by Army. So you really got to love to see that.
They're doing such a good job of keeping that ball alive while getting defenders on the ground, which is exactly what you want. In the attack, if we can bring people to ground and keep that ball alive, you see it at the international level. The French are exceptionally good at it, and if you can get the defense to ground and keep that ball alive, you're going to have some open space in front of you.
Yeah, really good work in the open game here so far today, and it's resulting in a score line which they're going to be happy with, but I would assume not satisfied. They'll continue. Eisenhart sets up just inside the 5 meter. Strike is up. On line again a meter short. So the story of the kicking today is that it's just a little short. And so Brown will make their way back to the center. And restart. So game clock here at Warrior Field says 3:43 and counting down. We've got 32, which says we got about 5 or so, 3 to 5 minute discrepancy here. So we'll see what the official clock, which is always kept by the referee on the field, turns out to be. Ball is up. Murray brings it to the other side of the field once again. It's handled by Morales backward, and so referee says play on. Now the ball out. This is Alice, who ducks around Matt Lake and finds a little running room. Now out to Kate Winker, the try scorer. Takes the double tackle and is able to do a good job of setting it. Eisenhart out to Gabby Winker. who slices through, breaks one, still on her feet, continues to drive. Fiatoa cleans it out nicely, and DeLeon right there to feed. Eisenhart with a little bit of a space. She's going to find one, gets herself through. Davis there to clean up. Nice job by the winger to see the necessary job and do it. Carney brings it across, and Ricklick. Absolutely love to see that by Davis, the winger, who comes across and cleans out. Anytime you see that line break in an isolated player, it's always dangerous. This time, referee says you came from the side, not through the channel, and so that will result in a Brown penalty. A little bit of a trickier call for Brown because they are in the center of the field. And referee says we'll take the scrum. So Brown, a confident move inside, let's call it 38 meters or so on their half. They feel good about the scrum, and they're going to give it a shot here instead of trying to kick for touch. It's a long kick for touch, to be fair, in the middle of the field there. And so penalty play or a scrum are your other options. They chose scrum. Crowd calls for it. We'll see what Army can muster. They do get the drive on, and they look to be winning this scrum. It's picked by Baptiste, who is absolutely clobbered by Fiatoa. Knocks the ball. That's Alouche, who unfortunately lost the handle, and Army back into action. Winker is wrapped up by Barbosa, who's trying to take the ball out of hand. Winker's going to have to find her feet. Referee says, you are up. It is a ball. You got to get in there and drive now. It is one stop. Brown. And it is not coming. Referee says it was held up. So again, not something you see too often. Good heads-up play there by Brown defensively, and they're able to retain the ball. For the viewer at home, what this means is this. If you take the ball into contact and you don't find the ground, they don't have to release you. You only have to release the ball carrier when they've been tackled, which officially means they've gotten a knee or lower body to the ground. When you are held up, you must continue to move the ball forward, or else the other team gets the ball. And that's what the referee was signaling there, saying, look, it did not go forward. It had stopped. And so held up, scrum, Brown. I think if you're Army, you had to feel pretty good about that last scrum, especially since Brown elected it. Now the ball comes out to the weak side. Davis there to help in the double tackle. Barbosa does a nice job of keeping feet again. And that is certainly something that has featured so well so far today. Now Baptiste. Met with big contact by Carney. Looked to be possibly a little high. Now Murray looks to clear it. Finds the green space and a bit of a run. And so it's going to be a line out to Army. And so DeLeon with ball in hand. Little gamesmanship there. Thought maybe about the quick line out. But thought again, and now has elected to hand it to Alice, who will throw in the lineup. Referee says 6 minutes look to be remaining. That's what I'm getting from him, which says that we're all a little ahead of him. We got 4 on the clock. DeLeon. Okay, my mistake. That was not 6 minutes. That was probably last play.
6 man.
And so that will be the half. So here we are at halftime, and we have a score line of 39-0. Lots of small stories to tell. It looks like Army on the front foot doing a really nice job. Brown doing really the bulk of the defending and, doing a good job of it, but it's a relentless attack. Couple of storylines. The score could be a bit higher. Eisenhart a little bit uncharacteristically not finding the posts. And so that'll be something that she sort of thinks through at halftime, I'm sure. And otherwise, I would say Army feeling real good about this start.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Mike. If you look back at the priorities from Coach Jen, you got to score in their green zone. We're doing that, keeping ball alive, playing smart. Penalty counts way down, 2-2 at the half. And then that defense. If you're blanketed team at the half, I think you check the box there. So, and a couple Bren don't break, which is always good to be tested as well.
And so, with that in mind, we will go ahead and put the microphones down, take a little break, get a sip of water, and join you back in roughly 10 minutes as we start the second half. Thanks again for joining us here on the home of Army West Point Athletics, Night Vision on YouTube. We'll be right back. Warrior Field at the Anderson Rugby Complex. And the score line is 39-0 Army. Showed you there at halftime a few of the replays there of the tries scored. Some feature players today. We've seen Cassidy Ball touch it down a couple of times. We've seen Kate Winker get one. We've seen Emily Steen back from injury get one. We saw DeLeon get two. Real good work there. Alyssa Davis got one as well. So one of the things that I would say I like to see about that, one of the things I think is impressive by the Army squad is they are distributing the ball around the pitch. And that certainly will give you fits if you're trying to defend it.
Exactly right, Mike. Some couple takeaways that I had from the first half, which are right in line with those. We're throwing tons of options at Brown in our attack. You know, it's not just straight up defense here. A lot of things you have to defend as we attack the line. The quick ball, keeping ball alive as well. Defense throwing some solid shots. And what I like most, and I mentioned in the first half, is those two bend don't break. So Brown on the front foot, looking at that try zone, and we come away with the turnover, which is awesome to see.
So great work here by the Army squad, and now they will set up to kick, and we'll go ahead and get things rolling again. Referee Matt Lake takes a quick check to make sure we've got 15 on both sides, checks in with the captains, and starts the clock. Eisenhart will do the duties and gets the ball rolling. This is out to number 16, Jenna Lowry, who is now on the field for Brown. Alush out to Murray, to Maroney, who's met with some black jerseys. And once again, now out to Murray. Murray looks to find some space with her foot. Crossfield kick works its way to Steen, who is able to take it on the fly and looks to find some space. Was held a little bit there, tried the offload. It bounced off of Johnson. And so we are now playing an advantage for the knock-on. This is Baptiste, who has been a real big part of the attack and defense. The ball is stripped, but not before we go back for the original knock-on. And so it sort of looks like we're picking up where we left off there. Some high-paced work, both teams trying to find some space to work with. Word from our booth is that we're only playing a 30-minute half here in this one. And so this game may end short. That could be just a precaution if Brown is a bit low on numbers. Not sure why that would be otherwise. Maybe that first half ran a little long. Not sure. We'll see if we can get a ruling on that. But it's Alush with the ball in hand, who will now bring it out to Murray. Murray swings it. Big hit on Muldoon, drives the ball backward. That one looks forward. A nice little chop. Going to try to get this player's number. McCune there for it is gathered but driven into touch. That would be number 21, Lauren Wang. So real good job there. Puts the grubber through and then chases with ferocity, able to drive McCune into touch. Hat tip there to the winger. Good work.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate. Nice job getting that offload off after that big Morales shot over there. Interestingly enough, the set pieces have basically held serve. No real advantage one way or the other during our first 40 minutes.
Lots of movement. Roney goes to the long, but Ringdahl up in front and able to steal, so Army will get to work. That one, unfortunately, not the service connection that they were looking for, and it is bounced forward, knocked on off of Eisenhart, and we will see the scrum.
I might have jinxed them there during their first line out of the second half.
The announcers jinx, the broadcasters jinx. It happens. That I'm one to believe in superstition, but it happens. And here, we'll see Alush with the ball in hand for Brown. Now Brown shows the stacked shape with Murray and McGettigan behind the scrum. Muldoon and Barbosa out on the flank. Army driving. Baptiste able to pick it up before it's driven over. Barbosa, a little show and go, is able to get through one, but then is met by Morales. That's been a battle between the centers today, both doing real good work. Now the ball out. Murray looks down the field, decides to bring it out to Barksdale. Now out to Murray. Unfortunately, that looks to be a knock-on advantage that Kate Winker is going to grab. And referee says not before the tackle was high. So we'll stop the advantage for a penalty. And now Eisenhart looks to line up for the touch finder. Kick is up, and it finds touch. And a little more. Perfect. And Alice will get ready to get this line out going for Army. So it looks like Winker and Johnson set to lift Ringdahl. A little bit of a fake. They now go a little deeper to Carney. It's a nice throw and take out to DeLeon, who handles it, now brings it out quickly. Winker out the back to Morales, who finds Davis, who is filled into Ball. Now we've got some speed on the outside, and Steen will be looking as the supporting runner. A little show. Ball says, I'll keep it. Oh, but unfortunately loses it in the contact, but not before gaining, 40 to 50. So great work, great run. And now Brown will be inside their 22 and have to make a decision on how to exit.
Super good hands by Ellie Carney right here to get that line out strike move going. Really good hands across to Ball, who had that nice line break. Unfortunately, just a knock on.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has stuck with me, and I'll make the moment here to shout it out, is Yesenia Morales coming out the back. That pullback pass, she is creating dangerous situations, and those are really sparking attacks. So, sometimes that player, that kind of connector, doesn't get the credit. You see the line break, and so you naturally want to see them. But Morales has been working all day and just putting the ball in smart gaps. Here's the take. They decide to run it out of the 22. Barbosa again, met by a few Knights, now Baptiste. And so we've called those names a couple times. Brown certainly featuring these two players. Referee says that one's okay. Play on. Alice says, I will go ahead and pick it up myself. The strip, it's now out. Backward, says the referee. And now McCune winds up with it. The latch by Fiatoa. They drive and find ground. DeLeon out. This is Cassidy Ball, who shows and steps by. Now finds some space. That one was high, but not able to hold. And Cassidy Ball will now get in for another. So we'll have to double check that one, but that's at least her third. And congratulations to Cassidy on the hat trick, bringing the score to 44. And I think she's been held up maybe once or twice, so she's certainly put some time into the try zone today. Score at 44, and we're showing 6 and change into the half. On the screen there, you get a nice little replay of Cassidy finding that space. Good job, Cassidy. Congratulations. So now Eisenhart will take her first kick after halftime. Of note was that during the half was out getting a little bit of practice there on the ball and trying to right the ship a bit from the kicking perspective. This time, that one looks to be a little bit more on what she was looking for and adds the extras. So the adjustment at halftime seems to have paid off on that one. And now Army sits at 46. And so Brown makes their way back. And so far, I'd have to say that your point of this being a hard place to play for a visiting team, it seems to be coming true. They have been defending for a while now, and Army just seems to keep finding that front foot. Murray sends it back. It's bobbled, and referee says traveled forward off of the hands of Ricklick. And so Brown in a very good position to take this first scrum. Not first scrum, this scrum inside the 22, and they will undoubtedly try to get a nice stable platform and bring this out in attack. Based on what we've seen so far, we might figure Barbosa or Baptiste could be featured here. They're showing a nice layered attack with Murray as the connector.
And scoreboard aside, Mike, I think the number 10, Julia Murray's played a pretty good game. Very accurate passes, all over the pitch, kicking. A solid game.
Ball comes out a little choppy, which allows DeLeon to put it in. And there's Barbosa met with a strong double tackle by Fiatoa and Winker. Cassidy ball on Baptiste, who's able to shed, drives the legs and continues to churn on and gain a few more. And now Brown, let's call it 15 meters out. Maroney is met by Johnson. Referee, that says that's a penalty. You did not roll. He laid on top. Quick tap there by the 18. That's Naomi Van Zant, who brings it within a meter or two. Arm is still out. Referee says we're playing another advantage, offsides. And now Brown will take a second to reset. So Army caught on the wrong side of two penalties there, and Brown looks to get on the scoreboard. Alouche out to Barbosa, who is met with an absolute blitz of contact between Fiatoa and possibly Winker. Did not make out the number. And Army has once again settled into this bend, don't break moment, and we'll see what they can pull out this time. Referee says, you're okay, watch the foot. There's that drive on, gains a meter, Baptiste, but Army's still in very good position. Maroney is stood up and driven backward, and the ball is stripped once again. This time it's Cassidy ball, and then it's stripped to them. So we have a whole series here. So look to be... Let me just double check that. Cassidy ball strips the ball from Maroney, who then has it stripped away, lost forward, which now means Brown will get the scrum for the knockoff. Exciting series.
Once again, no quick by that Army defense in the deep red zone. Defending exceptionally hard with those thunders, those big forwards coming in by Brown. Sticking them, driving them backwards, and then ripping that ball out.
Crow. So let's see what the scrum can muster this time. Brown possibly going to try to have a show of strength here. This is always a spot to do it. Army appears to be up for the challenge. Ball comes out the back to Murray, who has lost the handle. It's gathered in by Eisenhart, and that knock-on advantage is likely to be a freebie. It's exited by Morales. Referee says advantage over because the kick. So now Davis on the chase. Alouche thinks about it, but sees McCune and now brings it back the other way. Huang again decides to put it on her foot, but that one is going to go directly out. So out on the full means the line out to Army. So again, another strong defensive stand and exit. Shout out to Yesenia Morales, all smiles down there because not usually finding herself in the kicking role, but did a nice job to find the green space.
Almost stole it from Cassidy ball, and then a good way to find the green there. And then not the most organized chase, but I thought Grace McCune worked exceptionally hard to cut down that ability for Brown to go wide.
Yeah, great point. And you saw Alouche just look at her. This one comes through. Carney able to pull it in as the last body and recycle it. DeLeon brings it out. Eisenhart out again. Now they're looking to find Gabby Winker in the space. A wonderful flat pass. Space is on. She cuts back. Now it's a foot race between Winker and McGettigan. McGettigan looks to be up to the challenge, but not before Winker able to dot it down and put 5 more on the board, bringing us up to 51. That was a near perfectly timed pass between the centers. Flat ball, Winker through on the front foot at full pace. You got to love that. You see it here on the screen. Winker just absolutely blasts through. And then great vision to see where she has to run to avoid the fullback. Does so and dots it down. So 52 and change gone. And Army at the 51-0 mark. Eisenhart with the ball in the tee. It's a strike that looks straight and over to add 2 more. And once again, it appears that the adjustments made have worked out and brings us to 53.
some rumblings on the West Point bench here. We have Tatiana Stockbrower warming up, as well as Zanam Agunlola.
She goes by Z because it's a tricky one. So Agunlola is getting warm, and we will likely start to see some finishers make their way to the field. But not before Murray lines up for another restart and sends it. This one looks to be a bit short. It is played. Referee says, did not make it 10. So kudos to Baptiste there. Play the aggressive ball, try to pull it out of the air. But Matt Lake in perfect position to see it, and it makes the call. So, again, you know, the folks in the center don't often get the shout out. They're often getting ridicule when things are missed, but hat tip to Matt there. He was exactly where he needed to be to see that, made the call and pulled it back, and it will be a scrum at the center of the field. A little off center because of the wear on the turf itself, but scrum center as we call it. Eisenhart McCune showing the stacked position there again with Yesenia Morales, Gabby Winker, and Alyssa Davis out to the right. Emily Steen, the lone back out to the left, and Brown showing 2 deep, guarding the kick. They decide to go strong. This is Cassidy, ball out to DeLeon, who loses the handle but regathers. Yesenia Morales through, regathers. Referee says we're okay there. Now the seal. Good job by Huang to get out of the space. Eisenhart slips one, now finds a little running room. McCune on her hip. Good job by Murray. Now the offload to Morales, who finds a little space, gains a few more, looks for the slick offload, not able to pull it in, and interesting here. So referee says that was thrown forward first. Okay, there was a bit of a series there. It looked like Brown maybe caught it, brought it into their try zone and touched it down, but not before the Morales offload went forward. And so it will be a scrum to Brown in a precarious spot. You can see it there on the screen. Morales tried to get that little flick and was just in a little bit of a rough position to do so. It travels forward, and now we come back to the scrum. So I would think if your Army scrum feeling good, I think, so far today, this might be where we see a real big shove. Ball is placed. They've locked it out, and now it comes out to the short side of the screen. Barbosa called her name a lot today. She's doing a great job working real hard and driving the legs. Now the flat pass to Baptiste, sort of the other name we've been calling quite a bit. So good job there. Got a little space to work. We might see the exit now, and this looks like McGettigan will try to find touch and does so. So pretty solid work there by Brown to exit. You know, real patient, gain a couple meters on the phases, get your kicker in good position, and find touch easily. So hat tip there for that work.
Yeah, super clinical. Back rower picks, get the ball over, set the platform that you want, clear to touch.
So as the line out forms, might be a good time to mention to the viewers at home, if you are not aware, and we haven't mentioned it today, this is the first game of a doubleheader. Not something that happens here very often, but something we're real excited about. The men's team will step on the field for a 2 o'clock kickoff.
Don't change your...
Not before we get back to the action where the maul has formed. Fiatoa pulls it out. DeLeon does a good job to clean it up, but not held in the tackle, and so just continues to drive forward. An aggressive attacker, and that will add something to your team. Now the ball out from Johnson to Eisenhart, who brings it out to Winker, shows and gains a few. Now it's recycled, a little sloppy. Alice, the scrum half duties, as it looks like DeLeon might be dealing with a bloody nose, but comes back in. Now the ball in Davis's hands, who finds Kate Winker. On the far side of the field, referee says Brown may have gotten hands-on. Penalty does indicate that it was not releasing. So the kick does find touch. And now Brown will line up for the lineup. Looks to be some finishers making their way. So we do see Stockbauer and Agunlola. Looks like DeLeon will step off briefly to get a contact change. That seems to be the case. And it's Ringdahl and Johnson who will make their way off. Great shift by them both, who had some real hard runs and great support all day long. So at the 58th minute, almost 59th, we've got a score line of 53-0. And referee going to just pause for a second here to determine how we handle the player who needs a new contact lens and whether or not they'll send on a temporary sub. It's a question mark for me. I'm not sure. What's your take on that? I know blood can often be sort of cleaned up and returned in a certain amount of time, but I'm not sure where contact lens falls. Matt Lake says we're going to wait. It's okay. We'll just pause. We'll stop the clock there. And use this time as the water break. So nice way to be efficient. Good work there by the referee. So it's DeLeon who unfortunately lost the contact on the field, and referee says, yeah, we'll go ahead and take our water break now. Be a good chance to get a replacement. She is back already, and so that was a quick change. And so a couple minutes will go by, and we will get back to work.
Maybe I'm a bit off as well, Mike, but it was a West Point. It was a penalty against West Point.
Yeah.
We go to touch, and we sent our two finishers on. Not sure.
Substitution question mark there. Are you able to sub when you don't have possession? Now that, I will say, that is that's highly technical. Good job by you. That is not a pickup that most people would have. For those that don't know at home, the major is a encyclopedia of rugby knowledge, which means in loose translation, there aren't many people we like to geek out with better than people who know this sport, care about it as much as we do. So good pickup by you.
But if Matt Lake allows him to go on, I'm good with him going on, especially if it's in favor of the Black Knights.
Fair. Matt is Matt's a referee who's done some very high level games collegiately. I mean, we talked about it before the game started. Was I believe doing the national championship game for the men last year, which, if I recall correctly, was California, Berkeley, and Life University. Is that right?
That is correct. And when the men went out to California last year, I believe he did the Cal West Point game as well. So,
which is interesting because I think he's based in New York.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Well, it's good work if you can get it.
Yeah. USA Rugby and NIRA get their money out of them.
So Army makes their way back, and Brown not far from the spot. So we'll see what happens here. Should be a line out to Brown because they kicked for touch, but we'll see. So we'll go ahead and get Matt's mic up and running again. And looks like they are setting things up. And says, let's get the clock rolling again. And it's Maroney with ball in hand for the line out. Maloof goes up and able to take it down. Brown shows them all, but brings Baptiste out the back quickly and looks to find Maroney in the width. Well-designed set piece there. And now it comes out recycled quickly. This is the 17, Courtney Cummings, who gains a few. Now out the back to Murray. Quick hands by Muldoon. Does a nice job there to get it off to Barbosa. Malouche out to Baptiste. Gains a few. Army now resets. Now some pressure coming up. Fiatoa in position. There's the offload they're looking for. And this is a game that Brown is very comfortable playing. They like to play that offload game, and now they're starting to find a rhythm. Big double tackle. That's Stockbauer and Fiatoa. And now Army marches up. This is Agunlola, who was able to just clip in the tackle. Quick little offload there by Murray. Well played. Army gets the hands on. DeLeon says, I'll quick tap it. And now we swing it out. Alice up for it. Decides to take it. Looking. Continues to drive. Still looking. And now, let's go. Regathers. And is okay. So now the ball continues. DeLeon deals to Carney, who slips one, slips two. Just caught up on the laces there. Regathers herself. So again, really punishing Brown for not being there fast on the ruck. Now the ball comes out, Winker to Winker. So the Winker sisters unable to connect, unfortunately. And so that knock-on will result in a scrum to Brown. Again, Army just sort of looks so comfortable moving the ball. And you can just kind of get this sense that they're just waiting to get hands on and start to move it.
Super adaptable well after a huge run by Alice, a huge run by Carney. Then Grace McCune steps in at fly half and continues that attack, which is great to see.
Yeah, you know, Grace is a player who I don't know has played a lot of fullback before this year and has really sort of made the position her own. We'll see what happens with Steen back, because that provides some options for Coach Jen for sure. Emily Steen was the fullback previously, so we see her now on the wing. So again, that's nice. It's nice when players come back from injury and give you a little depth. I'm sure that's a good problem to have if you're Coach Jen Solomon. Alush brings it in. Baptiste looks to dig it out. The referee says, not, you were offsides. Fiatoa jumped a little early. And the ball is lost, but straight down, so now it's out. Murray brings it out. This is Barbosa again. Looking, that could be Chuck Davies, the 22. Gains a few. Not sure if the Davies family is here in the house, but if so, if not, a little shout out to our friends out in Downingtown. Big counter ruck there by Fiatoa. And now, Army challenging the rucks. Brown looking for that flat offload and sort of well-timed into that tight space. Alush finds Baptiste. This one off the head, bounces forward, and Army regathers. Eisenhardt able to get one off, bounces in, touched by Murray, and bounces out. So that one should go to Army. Referee looks like he's just going to confer and make sure that that is the case. And it looks to have been the case. So Alice steps into the channel and Army lines up for a line out just beyond the halfway. So let's call them 47 meters out from the try zone. Ball is up, fielded really well by Carney. Well done to get her hands on there. And shout out to whoever was doing the lifting, because they kept her up there for an eternity. DeLeon just fighting and fighting. Agunlola gets over and seals. Alice steps in at 9. Morales to Winker. That one was up high, the choke tackle. Again, they're going to try to keep Gabby up, but not able to do so this time. She goes down with some force. Morales now looks, brings it out to Eisenhardt, who flicks it back. That bailout pass there to Fiatoa, who just trying to break free, drives the legs. Ball out to Eisenhardt, now flicks to Davis in the width, who's able to get one through, and now this is McCune. McCune, good numbers by Brown, and a great tackle there by Chuck Davies in the open field. Referee says not releasing. McCune, I don't think, loved the call, but she's not the ref, so she steps back and says, yep, we'll play. And Murray has the ball in hand, and we'll try to find touch. Does so, and now Brown will have the line out. So traded some lineouts and traded some possession. One thing I will say that it looks to me, I'm interested on your take on it. Army's breaking the line, but then they look like they're getting a little isolated. I wonder if maybe that those backside runners need to come in and join, give that option. It's like you're seeing that line break, but that final pass is missing. Brown in good position. That one not straight, and Army did go up and contest, so that one is going to stay not straight, and so Army will get the chance at the lineout.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And then if Grace, in that example, doesn't feel like she has that support, then she has to do that release and try to pick up to keep moving. Whereas maybe if she feels those footsteps coming from our side, she'll just place that ball and continue on.
That one is up and cleanly fielded. Now out to Eisenhart, who finds Winker. Out the back to Morales, who finds Davis. Now there's numbers on the outside. This is Steen, who takes it from Ball. Brown does a nice job of coming across the field and getting to that last defender. Referee says ball was out, and so Brown has stolen it, and that's okay. Baptiste puts it on the foot. It's backward, and that could be Stockbauer. Looks like we've got another couple Army finishers who are warming up and maybe making their way, but not before Ricklick takes one, drives on after the fend.
No!
Maloof over the ball. Referee says, get out, you've lost it. Now Eisenhart into the space, leaves one for Carney on the wraparound, and this might work out. Carney's gonna have to get low. McGettigan does a nice job. The fullback in position. Morales gives way to Kate Winker, who drives on for one. Now we'll see if they can keep their shoulders down and drive through. Alice gets stood up, but working to find that try line. Hard to make it out, very close, a meter out maybe. Now the ball comes out. DeLeon out to Eisenhart. Morales sees the numbers. McCune could march it in, but decides to give Cassidy Ball another, which I'm losing track on, but might be 5.
I had her at 4.
4, okay.
Maybe 5 if we include the
Oh, yes, that's right. Confusion here in the booth. My mind is racing. So we are at 58. Cassidy Ball having a record day with 20 points on the board. Be an interesting record to know. What is the single game scoring record? And in fairness, I saw Cassidy doing some warm-ups of her own on the kicking tee this week, and geez. Kid is an athlete. Eisenhart says, we'll send it, and gains 2 more, bringing the score up to 60.
Couple of huge shifts coming off the pitch. Chloe DeLeon and Gabby Winker on for them, I believe, is Molly Kennedy. And get that name in a second.
Elena Andrade.
That's right.
That's who it looked to be that was warming up. So Kennedy will likely step in at 9. And Andrade typically in a flanker role. So we'll see what the adjustment is, because if Gabby Winker came off in an outside center situation, maybe Andrade will be out in the centers. It is Andrade who has to field it, but is in good body position and so bounces backward. Ricklick sheds a couple, sheds another. That one looked high by Muldoon, but referee says we're okay. And it was indeed. So rode up above the sternum, and so Ricklick able to shed a few and draw the penalty. And now Eisenhart will look to find touch. It's a good strike. It's a far kick there and able to find touch. And so Army will get the line out. So this will give us a chance to see who will step out. It looks to me like maybe number 8, Cassidy Ball, has stepped out into the 13 role, which really suits her quite well. I mean, the kid is obviously a very versatile athlete with good pace, but this will be the first time I think we've seen her here all year. Lineout is up. Carney again. Alice and Carney have now really dialed themselves in. This is the little flick from Morales to Ball, who drives on, gets beyond the 50-meter. Maroney had the hands on the ball, but referee says you lost it. Maloof sees that it's out and comes in and grabs it for Brown. So great job by Priscilla Maloof to see what's going on. That could have been Van Zandt. Couldn't quite make it out. Murray finds nobody home, tries to go for the kick, but it's Aginlola who uses her height advantage and gets the hands up, charges it down, and now Brown with the ball on their side of the pitch. So good work by Ziagalola to get her hands on the ball. Baptiste, who has just been a workhorse today, once again with the ball. Alouche finds Murray, who once again going to look to find some space. This time does so, and it rolls out. So not quite long enough for the 50-22, but good recognition of space by Julia Murray. And so Army will get the ball, but not before another finisher comes on. That's number 25, Reagan King, making her way to the field. Reagan will have a little extra support here today because some of her high school club teammates are here visiting the university, and certainly that's always great to see one of your former hometown players enter the field. She'll take over the throwing duties. Brown able to get a hand on it. Aganlola there, busts through the line out. Alouche brings it out. Muldoon, ball looks to chop off the pass and is there just to wrap up Murray. Morales is just absolutely a defensive menace and able to squash that run. Eisenhart thought about trying to jump the pass. That's Vizcarra, number 22, has also entered the game in the tackle. And now Barbosa sets the ball. Some conversation here, the box kick. So Brown seems to have shifted to a territory type scenario. Referee says that one bounced off of Steen, but not before Army was offsides. So Brown will get the ball in a penalty situation and likely kick for touch. Our clock continues to tick at 72 and change, and Murray strikes a good one, finds touch easily.
Caitlin Walker and Alyssa Davis exited when Vizcarra and Reagan King came on. Big shifts for those two ladies today.
So Maroney will have the ball in hand and do the honors for Brown, who lines up for a line out. And so some clarification there by referee, who says you have to either be in the line out or out of the line out. Can't be both. And you can't have too many people in that space. Clock starts again, and Maloof enters the line out. It's Baptiste who lines up to take it and does so. So it's tapped nicely by Brown, who now is able to find the ball, bring it out to Murray. Army showing some good line speed. Muldoon gets it to her foot. Nice job by Kate Muldoon. Steen right there to peel it up, and now Army will get to work. This is Kennedy. Saw the A channel, takes it herself. Last over rucking by McCune. Cassidy Ball looking to find it, but referee says not before Brown got hands on. Alouche takes it. The mark is okay, finds Baptiste. They're going to try to play it quick. Now the ball out to the right. Barbosa to Muldoon. It's Eisenhart McCune on the tackle. Alouche, there's that pullback pass. That's Barksdale. To Murray. Now looking to Baptiste. Finds Maroney. Sees it out to the flanker, number 7, Jordan Wiseman, who takes an absolute shot and knocks the ball forward. So once again, Army showing that they will defend fiercely in this part of the field. Referee says it was knocked on before it exited, and so it's not a line out. It is, in fact, a scrum.
I think Brown ran into an absolute buzzsaw today because you watch this Brown team, their skills are to a very high level. You know, I think they're thinking about the right things, but this Army team today was determined and turned on.
Yeah, I think that's I think they felt there was a little left to be desired from last week. A really, really great game. Probably one of the best games. I mean, honestly, I think I can say probably one of the best collegiate games on the women's side I've seen, maybe at all, but in a long time. And came up just a little short at home. Big crowd. And so I know that this week was one where they felt they really needed to come back and answer. And so far they have. Referee going to just change the position of the scrum. Felt the footing was off a little bit there, and so try to find a bit of a better patch of grass to work with. Clock continues to tick. We've got 76 and change here on the field, 75 and a half on our game clock, so we'll keep an eye on things. Kennedy puts it in. Army up to the challenge. Brown with a good shove, but not before the ball out to Eisenhart. He decides to bring it down into space. This is McGettigan. Thinks about sending it back. Instead, swings it out to Davies, who is chased down by Eisenhart. Now the ball is over. Now the ball is out. McGettigan now looks to put it on the foot. It's a nice idea. Sends it over, but the bounce doesn't work out well for Brown. And it's unfortunately lost on the ground. And so the knock-on will go to Brown. So a nice idea, a little bit of a cross-field chip, try to get it over into that corner. Tough bounce if you're a Brown fan, but the secondary component, a little bit of a miscue, worked out well. We now see Carla Carreno in the 17 jersey entering the pitch. So we'll see who. Looks like it's going to be Ricklick on the way out. And number 21, that's Samaya Ahmoud, who also, the freshman, the plebe, also finding her way on. And it's going to be Carney. So these two have really had a day, called their name quite a bit with some great work on both the junior in Ricklick and the senior in Carney. So Army starts to empty the bench and allow some of these finishers to do their job, which is to come on and insert some energy late in the game. Hollis has moved to 8. If we didn't mention that before. And now the ball comes out. Murray looking for the shape, brings it out to Muldoon, who is tackled but gains a few. Gets Brown on the front foot. This is Baptiste, who continues to churn and work real hard. Big contact by Fiatoa on Van Zant. Penalty, referee says this time Army had hands on. Not releasing, and so Eisenhart will look to find touch. Does so, and now Army will have the line out. So interesting, we'll see if that that information that we got before about playing a 30-minute half will come true. Don't think so at the 78th minute. So that could have been a miscue by us, and if so, apologies. This one looks to be going the distance. Reagan King with the ball in hand. At this point, if you're an Army fan, I think you're fighting for the blank sheet, right? You want to keep this thing blank like it is, but not before Brown able to take that line out. Hollis does a really nice job, and I thought had it, but lost it. Unfortunate there. Now the ball out. Van Zant out to Baptiste. Morales able to do the tackle, chops down, and now Alouche brings it to Murray. Finds Muldoon on the wraparound. Swings it out to McGettigan in space. That's number 24 who's entered the game, Abby Thornton, on the tackle, which is great to see because these are some players who have not gotten the minutes they had hoped for in some of these tighter games. So really great to see that the bench has been emptied and now we're seeing all the finishers on the field. Ball is out. Big double tackle on Lowry. Out again. Brown continues to recycle quickly. That's Cummings. Again, met with double contact. Now out to Maroney, who finds the 7. That's Wiseman. Gains a few. Maloof does a nice job cleaning out. Baptiste looking. Andrade and Eisenhart hands on, but not before the offload. Alouche swings it across the field, and now Army going to have to muster some line speed. Does so in Morales. And a mood. Penalty arm is out. Looked to be. And referee says, no, play on. The ball was out. So not quite sure what the call was there. Now Murray brings it out. Big initial contact by Aganlola, but couldn't hang on. It's cleaned up by Fiatoa and Morales, who drives. That could have been a knock on there. That was close. Maroney cuts back inside and is met by a couple. That's Andrade involved. Here comes Baptiste again. Slices through, but is held by King and Kennedy. Now Carreno gets involved on the tackle. Clock at 80 on the field. Murray looks for the late pass, is hit very hard by Fiatoa. Alouche finds Murray and unfortunately has lost the handle. So we'll see if that is enough to end the game. Our clock says it should be, and referee confirms it. And so Army has a day. I mean, I'm not really sure what to say there beyond just kudos to the Army team for coming out and really accomplishing the objectives, which was to come out hard, get some points on the board, and defend. So congratulations to the Army squad in black, and great work there by the squad from Rhode Island in white. Major McGee, what do you got for us? Any analysis? What do you take from this game? What are the work-ons? And who would you like to shout out? Who are the players of the game in your mind?
A well-deserved victory by the Black Knights in all facets of the game, blanking a team that is a high-quality team over these 80 minutes is exceptionally commendable. Tons of great efforts, hard to choose one. All over the pitch, making plays, staying alive, making those big sticks. On a short week now, right, Mike? Friday night at Sacred Heart.
Back at Sacred Heart, that's right.
Must win.
High stakes for sure. From the playoff picture, it's high stakes. It is, I would say, as close to a must-win scenario as you can get. I don't, to be fair, I don't really fully understand the playoff picture. It's some complex mathematics. Seems to be above my my knowledge, but I do think, based on what my understanding is, Army will come into that game in a must-win situation, as will Sacred Heart. And that will maybe determine who the fourth playoff bid goes to. Yeah. For me, some shout-outs to both squads. I mean, I thought we called Baptiste's name the number 8 all day long. Really, really hard work on both sides of the ball, and felt she really ran hard. So shout-out there. We called Barbosa quite a bit as well, so can't take anything away from the center. On the Army side, I would agree, almost too many to call. Probably sounds like a biased opinion, but I'll give the shout out to Cassidy Ball, who anytime you can dot 4 tries down in a game, it's been a day. I'm sure if we were speaking to Cassidy, she would come back and say, yeah, but somebody got to get me that pass. And so there's a host of ruggers who do that. We're going to go ahead and put the microphones down for a bit. At 2 o'clock, so 15 minutes from now, we will kick off the men's game. So stay tuned and join us for the next game when the Army men take on Southern Virginia University, who has traveled up to be the second half of this doubleheader. Once again, folks, thanks for joining us here on Night Vision. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to having you on the next game.